You just let me know, Sarah, when the live stream is on, okay? I guess that's a good indication. Good morning, everyone. It's November 8th. We'll call this Grey County Long-Term Care Committee Management meeting to order. Sarah, we do have quorum.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can confirm that you have quorum.
Thank you very much. Just to remind the elected officials of your obligation to declare a pecuniary interest or an interest. Seeing nothing, if anything should arise, you may declare at that time. There are no delegations. Our first report is the LTC RCM 19-22 regarding the long-term care operational report from August 15th, 2022 to October 14th, 2022. Be received for information. Can I have a mover to get that on the floor, please? Moved by Barb and seconded by John. I believe I'm turning this over to Renata to start.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everybody. This is the report for quality, and the CIHI, the Canadian Institute of Health Information, released the first quarter data for 2022. The following indicators have been sustained by the care community for more than 3 quarters, and that is the use of antipsychotics without a diagnosis, daily physical restraints, pain, and worsening pain. The clinical and quality specialists continue to visit the care communities on a regular basis, and the focus for 2023 will be reviewing the mandatory programs that are required under the new Act and regulations. For example, the mandatory programs are skin and wound, pain, falls, and continence care. Also, the annual resident and family survey has been released for this year. We expect the results by the mid-December. The surveys and the information from the surveys will inform the care community for improvement projects for the following year. The results of the survey will be shared by this committee. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Renata. Any questions from any members? Thank you very much for that update. I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Stacy, I believe, is next.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, I'll provide the updates on the outbreaks experienced in our homes during the reporting period. Both Lee Manor and Rockwood Terrace managed 2 COVID-19 outbreaks in their homes. The first outbreak at Rockwood Terrace was declared on August the 5th on 2nd floor and was declared over on September 1st, and that impacted 23 residents. Later in the same month, an outbreak was declared from August 20th to September 7th, which affected 30 residents and sadly included 1 death. Lee Manor also experienced 2 separate COVID-19 outbreaks. The first outbreak was declared on September the 13th on 2 South, which was declared over several weeks later on October the 14th, and there were 18 residents affected. On September 20th, an outbreak was declared on the 1st South home area and was declared over on October 6th, and this outbreak affected 6 residents. Grey Gables did not experience a confirmed COVID outbreak, but did have a suspect COVID outbreak on September 5th, which was declared over by public health just 2 days later. In all cases, the outbreak management team worked very closely in collaboration with our public health partners to monitor and manage the cases. And that concludes my update.
Thanks very much, Stacy. Any questions from committee members? Not seeing any. We'll turn it over to Shannon.
Perfect. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair. As the people chart in the report indicates, we continue to recruit new employees and retain existing employees. The care communities continue to hire for all departments, but especially for the PSWs. Each of the 3 care communities are highly engaged with local and provincial partnerships that's related to recruitment. And Jen will speak to this a little later in our reports. Grey Gables has recently just finished a registered dietitian internship where the student was completing her 8-week management placement with the nutrition manager. Student placements have increased for all of the care communities, and we continue to utilize and mentor these student placement opportunities. And that's my report. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions, committee members? Shannon, are we moving in the right direction around recruitment?
Yes, definitely we are. It's looking a little bit better. We're getting more resumes in anyways, that's for sure.
Great.
Mhm.
All right, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, committee members. It's my privilege to highlight some of the positive and happy things happening at the care communities, or that happened at the care communities during the reporting period. Grey Gables was fortunate to receive a generous donation of a park bench from a volunteer's family. And that's great in recognizing Colorette relationships with the volunteer. And they've located that in their memorial garden. Lee Manor made someone's birthday wishes come true. And it's funny when you read this, how things we take for granted, like a pizza at Pizza Hut or anywhere else, can be such a highlight to a resident. But the resident had a request for Pizza Hut, not only for himself, but his roommate and the maintenance staff to sing happy birthday. And the great team at Lee Manor made all that happen, plus more, I understand. So good job up there. Here at Rockwood Terrace, Durham itself and the Rockwood community has always been big supporters of the Terry Fox Foundation, and this year was no exception. So we had several residents participate in an indoor walk this year, and together raised $592 for this very worthwhile cause. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Karen. I'm glad you were able. I mean, I would love to have a Pizza Hut birthday too. Any questions from committee members? Okay, Karen, thank you for that update. All right, all in favor of receiving that report? That is carried. We now have LTCR CM 2022 regarding the long-term care director update we received for information. Can I have a mover for that, please? Moved by Warden Hicks and seconded by Barb. Jen, you taking this one?
I am, thank you. Let's bring my notes over. So thank you, Mr. Chair. This director update provides a summary and an overview of a number of items that have changed in the past couple of months. So our homes did experience COVID outbreaks over the summer, which Stacy highlighted. We do continue to work with public health, our public health partners, to implement IPAC strategies. And we continue to work through the new requirements for the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. And I'll just give a highlight of some of the COVID guidance changes that have happened recently. On October 6th, the Ministry of Long-Term Care released an update to their guidance document that with the following updates that came into effect on October 14th. So there was a handful that really had some significant impact. The definition of a confirmed outbreak has been updated to 2 or more residents with COVID with a common link within a 10-day period. And this no longer includes staff or visitors in the definition. Active screening for visitors and caregivers continues to be recommended as opposed to required, and we do continue this process in each of our homes. Screening requirements have shifted from active to passive screening for staff members. And so that means that team members they come in and they do a passive screening. So they review the screening questions and then are able to report that to the screener. And we continue to record that daily. We do continue to do our rapid antigen testing every shift, every visit for all team members, visitors, care partners. Masks continue to be required for long-term care staff, as well as for visitors and others entering the home. While they recommend mask use all the time, masks are no longer required when visitors or caregivers are alone with a resident in their room or in a designated visiting area. So visitors are able to take their mask off under certain circumstances where they are alone with the person that they're visiting. We held a virtual town hall on November 2nd, and we went over the change in criteria, and there's posters up around the home to help people know when they need to put their mask back on, when they can have their mask off. The biggest change that was really well received by residents and their family members is that in being able to take their mask off for a visit, it enhances communication, and they also can enjoy a coffee together or a snack. And that's a big part of visiting often is people stop at their person's favorite place and pick them up a treat and be able to eat together. So that was really well received and welcomed. Part of the requirements are that if the roommate comes into the room or a volunteer or a staff member, then the mask needs to go back on. And everyone seemed to understand that, and this has been going well as it's been rolled out in the homes. Physical distancing requirements were updated to align with other high-risk settings, and we do continue to encourage physical distancing to avoid situations like crowded places or where infection can spread more easily. Long-term care homes were able to return to regular practice for setting our own visitor policy. The province had set a limit of 4 visitors at a time, and that's been removed. We do have a few spaces that we do put a limit to how many people can be in the room at one time, just to really support that infection control best practice. And daily screening of residents for signs and symptoms continues to happen, but the requirement of a COVID test 5 days after an outing or an overnight absence is no longer required. So we're again moving into that clinical assessment. So if the clinician, the nurse, they sees a need to do a test, then we would do a test. But we're not doing a test at day 5 just because it's day 5, and that aligns with that guidance. Stacy gave a highlight of the outbreaks. As I mentioned, we are continuing to do daily rapid antigen testing at all 3 homes for every visit, every shift worked, and the 3 homes continue to test almost 2,000 tests weekly. Around visitors and family and a bit of an opportunity to share, we were requested to share an overview of our designated care partner program at Ontario Health's Quality and Patient Safety Rounds on October 25th. And this, they asked us to share our innovations that we implemented during the pandemic, the partnerships that we used to support this change, and it allowed us an opportunity to highlight this program and the really important role that it plays. And in speaking of that, we also had the opportunity to participate in the creation of a video. So residents, designated care partners, and staff from Grey Gables participated in Essential Partners in Care, the Magic of Connection video. And it was created by Briere and the Center for Learning, Research, and Innovation in Long-Term Care. The video debuted at the end of October at the Ontario Long-Term Care Association conference. It's linked here, and if committee permits, I'd love to share the video at the closing of the meeting. The ministry released a memo end of October, again highlighting the importance of Ontario nurses in getting their COVID-19 bivalent booster. We do continue to offer the vaccination to all team members and designated care partners at all 3 homes, and are encouraging people to boost their immunity with both COVID-19 and influenza vaccinations. On October 5th, the ministry announced funding for a new program called Hiring More Nurse Practitioners for Long-Term Care Homes. The intent of the funding is to hire and retain up to 225 additional nurse practitioners in the long-term care sector. The province will fund up to 75 full FTEs per year with the intent of hitting their 225 target at the end of 3 years. So we're in the process of exploring this opportunity for a nurse practitioner in our Grey County homes, and are just working through the eligibility and the funding availability, and whether there's availability of NPs interested in that type of a position. In October, we began the recruitment process for the IPAC, Infection Prevention and Control, and Wellness Lead positions at each location. These are required under the Act, and we anticipate a late November start for this new role. A focus of recovery and wellness continues to be a priority in the work that we do. And on October 20th, a Leadership Development Day was held at Sydenham campus, and it was fabulous to be able to have that space to use. It was a great space to bring the team together. And the leadership teams from all 3 homes came together, and we worked through some tools and resources to support leadership growth and change management. It offered an opportunity to do some reflection on the work that the teams have done over the past number of years, and an opportunity to refocus and implement our strategies into the future. Finance, some updates around some funding. The ministry announced some additional funding for this fiscal year for continued support in infection prevention and control training and education. The long-term care temporary retention incentive for nurses received our final installment to transfer those funds to the eligible nurses. Also in October, our application for interim beds was completed. There will be 1 additional bed at Lee Manor and 2 additional spaces at Rockwood Terrace. And these additional spaces, while it's not much, do help increase the capacity in long-term care locally and support the province's plan to stay open. And finally, end of October, we received notification that there would not be updated or changes to the case mix index for the 22-23 fiscal year. So the prior year's CMI values will continue to apply for the purpose of funding provided for nursing and personal care envelopes. Regarding the Fixing Long-Term Care Act update, on October 26, our quality specialist, Renata Cowan, held a virtual emergency management consultation meeting, pulling together team members from our homes, tenants, local municipalities, emergency service partners, and the presentation included an overview of the Act's requirements and our emergency management plan, and an opportunity for our partners to provide feedback and input. There's a number of other provisions with the Act that were required for completion by October 11th, some required training some education and discussions around palliative care, the establishment of a committee focused on quality improvement, the written agreement with the medical directors is finalized, and then finally, the screening measures where there's a requirement that ensures every person who is a member of the home's governance structure provides a licensee with a police record check. And so just to highlight in the municipal space, this requirement will be completed with the new committee of management members, and we'll pull together the details and information about that moving forward. And finally, I would like to highlight the continued importance of partnerships. Our partnership continues with the YMCA Employment Services to create funded education opportunities for our sector. Recently, a survey was completed by the 19 long-term care homes in Grey Bruce to identify our staffing needs. And on October 16th, the Y and the Ministry of Labor, Skills and Training representatives joined the Long-Term Care Committee meeting and presented an overview of the Skills Development Fund proposal, which includes education for essential skills supportive care, personal support workers, and food service worker. Food service worker has been added to the proposal and has become a priority in the long-term care sector in a space where we need to encourage and recruit additional trained individuals to support that work. And during the meeting, the group also discussed the institutional cook apprenticeship program. And if this is successful, if this proposal is successful, there's an opportunity to train 300 local individuals to work in the 19 long-term care homes locally. So it's a really great opportunity, and we're grateful for our partners who are helping support this work. And that concludes the update.
Thanks very much, Jen. Any questions from committee members? Warden Hicks, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jen, you talked about the case mix index and using the prior year's numbers. Is that a good or bad thing? I can't tell.
Yeah, thank you. So the case mix index is always an unknown and an uncertainty. So the good of it is that we know what we're dealing with, and often we don't get that information until after we've completed the budget process. So in this case, we have the opportunity to know what it is and budget appropriately. The potential bad is that there's always the chance that our case mix index might go up, but that hasn't historically been the trend. So at least we know what we're working with for the 22-23 fiscal.
Thank you. And if I might, Mr. Chairman, on the hiring more nurse practitioners program, I read there that we have to hire the person and then apply. So that must be frustrating, because you almost feel like saying, well, I would hire if I knew I were getting the funding, but you want me to hire and hope that I get the funding. Have we investigated what the likelihood of funding might be?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, and we continue to do that. We are also, Dena has been working with Advantage also to try to advocate for some of the challenges that come with this policy. There are other challenges that we're trying to sort out. For example, the funding available is not adequate to fund the current market rate of a full-time equivalent nurse practitioner. And so that's a challenge. So yes, it is frustrating. However, we are continuing to explore what the options are and work with our partners to see how we might work through that. And we have reached out to the ministry as well for some clarification. If 75 NP spaces are going to be funded this year, what if we're the 76th? That would be most unfortunate and not at all sustainable. And so we continue to have that dialogue to see if we can get some more concrete answers.
Right, and strategically, does it not make sense for us to apply for 3 positions?
I think we did sort that out. Through you, Mr. Chair, Dena, was it limited to one organization funded?
Yes, so thank you, Jen. And to clarify, what we've understood is that homes can share a nurse practitioner position, and we can also apply for each respective care community. But there will be, as Jen alluded to, the market rate is less than what an RN is currently being employed for. And nurse practitioners presently are master's qualified, have additional qualifications, have additional requirements. So it's also who then supplements that. And that's where we're exploring what that looks like. But yes, we can certainly share an NP or apply for each care community. I think the reality is, and as they described, that there may be 75 positions available. And when asked why the anticipation wasn't 225 for the first year, the province recognized that, and I'm not sure if I'm quoting here exactly, but we would be really fortunate if we could even find 75. So if there was the event that there would be an 80th, they would explore the funding. So, but it is the cart before the horse. So I think there would be funding. I don't think it would be adequate funding, but we could absolutely share an NP and or apply for each of that. And they would explore our application.
And lastly, Mr. Chairman, on the issue of recruitment, I know that Shannon expressed that applications are up, and she seems to have some optimism in her voice. But my guess is that the reality is not as optimistic. So I would like to know what is causing the uptick in applications. Are we seeing more applications from locals, or is it from every place? And what's working and what needs to happen? I really think that this is probably the area where you lose the most sleep. So I just wonder if you might give me a little bit more on that, Jennifer.
Sure, thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the sleep is affected by the recruitment and retention, absolutely. So I'm not sure if we have a specific indicator as to why there might be an uptick. We do continue to work, the working with our local colleges and education sites has, and particularly the Y program and Georgian College has had a huge impact on our ability to recruit. It's great to get the students in, and they do their placements on site in our homes and then are interested in getting employment there. And part of the program with the YMCA Employment Services is that they help support that placement. And that's part of the goal of that proposal, is that people work through that training and then are placed. The introduction of the CSA position, the Care Support Assistant, which in the early days of the pandemic we called the Emergency Support Worker. That introduction of that position has given people an opportunity to kind of dip their toe in long-term care. So they have taken the advantage of the funded essential skills training, which is that kind of a short micro-credential program with Georgian, gives them the basic training and skills that they need to be able to support PSWs and support in the homes. And a number of people have opted to then further their education. So either as a PSW, a couple have said they're interested in being an RPN. Some are interested in recreation and activation. Some are interested in food service worker. So introducing that CSA role has provided jobs locally and then opportunity to see a career path and not just a job, but a career in long-term care. And I think you asked a third question that I maybe haven't touched on. So we are an optimistic bunch, and I think that that's important. It's still worrisome, and it's something we talk about daily and are working with our partners in human resources in the county daily to make sure we're not missing opportunities, that we're calling people back if they've sent in their resume, as quickly as we can. The market is hot. People can work wherever they want in health. And so our goal is to be the place people want to work and that people want to stay at.
Thank you.
Jen, just when we're talking about staff, I believe the last meeting or the meeting before, Advantage Ontario was going to be advocating with the province in regards to agency staff. Has there been anything happen in that regard?
Thank you for that question. And no, I was actually reviewing minutes the other day from our local long-term care committee, and the 19 leaders from the long-term care group were talking about also sending a letter to advocate for some government intervention in the rates that are set by agencies. So I have not heard an update on any movement in that space.
Okay, thanks. And then just to follow up on when the warden was talking about the nurse practitioners, Are you able to tell us what sort of role a nurse practitioner, what enhancements they would bring to our long-term care, and how they would work with our doctors that we have in our facilities?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it to Dana if Dana, you can give a summary of that.
I'll do my best. And so, Mr. Chair, in terms of the role of a nurse practitioner who, as they describe, is an extended class, they have, there are even some nurse practitioners who have a specialty in gerontology. So it's really a great opportunity. We talk with our medical directors, and you know, I think there is a real partnership where they can explore and work together, because their scope is expanded. So they're able to order certain tests. They're able to do diagnoses. They're able to offer and prescribe. And so it goes beyond where our RNs, for example, await for a medical director. But they also have enhanced assessment skills, particularly if they have a specialized skill in gerontology. So it is a really good opportunity to fill where many of our residents could benefit from that level of care. So, and we also recognize that medical directors are also a very busy, a busy lot. So I think also looking at the availability. So it is a really good opportunity because they have this expanded scope of assessment skills, of diagnoses, the ability to diagnoses, and the ability to treat. So having that on-site 24-hour, not 24 hours a day, but in terms of a full-time role, I think could really enhance the residents' quality of life as we go through their palliative care journey. But it does come with an additional cost and the ability, you know, as Jen has talked about, ability to grow our own maybe. So we are looking to that, but there is an advantage, and it's really quite a good partnership where you have that whole spectrum of care, from our PSWs, who are the eyes and ears and support, to our registered staff, to the enhancement of a nurse practitioner and the skills they bring, and also having a medical director there for that broader scope and consultation. So it's something we definitely want to explore. And does that help give you an idea of that role?
No, absolutely, Dana. I knew you'd have the justification that we were looking for. Thanks very much.
Thank
you. John, go ahead.
Just to add to that a little bit, I'm on the board of directors for the Southeast Grey Community Health Center, and we use nurse practitioners extensively, and they provide just a vital role where there's such a shortage of doctors and things like that. They're able to handle so much, and although there's the cost, it's at a lower cost than a physician, and so it's worked very well for us, and we're in the point where we have a lot more nurse practitioners than we do doctors, but they have the backup of the doctors as well as their own skills to do a lot of the things that. So it's a real helpful marriage, I guess, to have, and especially I think it will be in long-term care. Again, you know, funding is always the issue, but it works very, very well. So hopefully that helps out a bit.
Well, thanks very much, John. That's I've certainly heard the same things from people that are using the nurse practitioner in Chatsworth through Southeast Grey. They're very pleased. I've heard of people leaving their family doctors and going to the nurse practitioner just because of the hands-on that they get through that care. Barb, I think I saw your hand. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And yes, I couldn't agree more. I think this nurse practitioner role is something that should be expanded across the board in terms of access to primary health care, because we are very definitely having difficulty recruiting family physicians, family doctors who are tired and don't want to be entering into that role as frequently as they used to, I guess, for many reasons, including administration role of all of the reports and things like that that have to be done. So nurse practitioners, that role, I think, is just absolutely vital in all aspects of access to primary health care. But I'm wondering if there's enough around, and how, what the stable is, if you will. How deep does it go, and are there more and more people, folks coming into that role with an interest in long-term care or health care of any form?
Thanks, Barb. There may be a question there about the numbers of the availability of nurse practitioners. Any sense of that, Dana or Jenna?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I can, again, just sort of reiterate what the ministry said, with their expectation of 225 nurse practitioners, but yet allocating 75 for each of the years, recognizing that they don't graduate that many nurse practitioners, although they are exploring it a little bit more. But yeah, there isn't that volume. I do know, I think up here, long-term care did approach and put out for NPs, and some long-term care homes that do have that. It isn't an easy position to recruit, but there are opportunities. And again, that's why there has to be some element of incentive. And I definitely know, being a part of Grey County is very much an incentive, but it also is about getting the value and the ability to leave where they are. It would be quite a reduction of the current funding structure that they have. And it appears we don't know ongoing funding as well. So presently they've just identified it for 3 years. So it's also about the ongoing funding. So if someone would, it's not only about the volume of nurse practitioners that are available, but to ensure that they have an ability to stay with us for that longer period with funding. So that might be difficult to recruit as well.
Well, I guess hopefully in the next year there'll be a report coming to the new Committee of Management, and we look forward to that. Any other questions on Jennifer's report? Not seeing any.
Scott.
Hi, Kim. How are
Hi.
you?
I'm well, thank you. Just if I may, just a couple of comments on the nurse practitioner topic, and this is purely anecdotal. Nurse practitioners are not able to bill OHIP directly, so that is when it comes to providing primary health care, I think that's a consideration. I don't have deep knowledge there, but I do know that as an NP, you can't just set up shop on your own and start a practice. The other thing that I think is a challenge is that this is a 2-year post-grad program that you need to be. I think it's quite competitive to be selected. It's a very difficult program. But if you think about it, if you're already an RN and practicing, you're going to incur some significant expense to complete that program, just the tuition alone, et cetera, and if you have to go somewhere to take it. But you're also probably not going to have a lot of extra time to work while you're going to school. So you're giving up 2 years of salary as well. And so I think, at the end of the day, if what the province or the country is looking for is to see more nurse practitioners graduate, I think there's going to have to be some further consideration to how we support people to get that designation and get started practicing, similar to what's happened with PSWs and even RNs. It's just a lot. So thanks.
No, thank you for those comments. And Kim, maybe it's some, advocation with the Ministry of Health, if we want to see an expanded role of nurse practitioners, maybe some lobbying needs to be done at the grassroots, rural Ontario, Northern Ontario, who are suffering from the lack of doctors and nurses, with the expanded scope of service that nurse practitioners can do. And, what we've heard from John and our own personal experiences, they can fill a gap that, that we're not getting through doctor recruitment. So anyways, thanks for those comments. All right, all in favor of receiving the report? That is carried. We have a verbal update regarding the DEI consulting engineers and the boiler at Grey Gables. Who wants this one, Shannon or?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So Grey Gables currently has 3 boilers that heat the water that is used to heat the home through the hot water rads that are located throughout the building. When functioning properly, the three boilers work together as a cycling system that rotates between the 3 boilers. Currently, one of the boilers has an issue with the shutoff valve that needs to be replaced, which in turn prevents the maintenance of the system. This is a problem because the boilers are placed in the same room as the electrical panel. The boilers are old and are scheduled to be replaced in 2026. The experts that service these systems are having issues with securing parts, and we are wanting to move the replacement of the system from 2026 to 2023. At present time, we are using 2 boilers and hoping to get the 3rd one up and running to get us through the winter. Given the lead time we're seeing with this type of work, it's important that we get started on the replacement project as soon as possible. The letter in the package speaks to considerations that should be taken into account for the replacement. Due to the current unconventional placement of the boilers, it's recommended that they be moved to the old generator room, which allows for external venting and decreases the need for lengthy and additional piping. The hot water heaters can remain in the room where they are currently placed. We had budgeted in 2026 $150,000 for the project. However, the latest estimate is $250,000 plus the cost of the consulting engineer who we would like to single source to DEI Consulting to provide the information required to put together the tender. So for resolution, that the correspondence from DEI Consulting Engineers requiring the Grey Gables boiler date November 1st, 2022 be received, and that the completion of the engineering services for the new boiler plant designed at Grey Gables be awarded to DEI Consulting Engineers on a single source contract, and that the staff be directed to proceed with adding the single source contract to DEI Consulting Engineers for services prior to County Council approval as per section 26(6)(b) of the procedural bylaw. Thank you.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Questions from committee members? I guess we have reserved what we're going to be probably double what is budgeted. Is that we have the reserves necessary for that?
I'm not.
Who Kim? When in doubt, go to Kim.
That's right. Certainly, we had hoped that we would have a little bit more time to put resources away towards this replacement, and just like so many other things that we're dealing with right now, the cost has escalated. But yes, there are reserve funds, and we will be utilizing those. I don't think we're at quite double. I understand that DEI will be looking at something less than $20,000 to do all the design and prepare the construction drawings, etc. So I think that we'll be okay that way. But yeah, that's where things are at, and we'll just, as we do, shift things around on the capital plan to deal with the things that are highest priority.
Thanks, Kim. I guess the one comment that Shannon made about was an unconventional or placed in an unconventional spot. How does that happen in a building that's really not that old?
I don't.
Are there any lessons for us to learn, I guess, there?
I mean, the one thing we do know is that the building code certainly changes over time. We're looking at moving towards a more modern system, much higher efficiency system. And that kind of system, as you saw in the letter, needs to be direct vented to an outside wall. And this idea of a chimney up to the top, I don't know, I wasn't in the meeting with the engineer, but I took it that's quite an older style of construction. And there may have been considerations at the time, something to do with the footprint of the building that caused this to be. I don't know, Jen, if you have any recollection. No, we don't know.
Yeah. But there will be energy savings, Kim, from this new boiler?
I believe that this should make a real, like a significant difference.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good information for council to have too, if it can be provided. All right, can I have a mover for that resolution? Moved by John and seconded by Christine. Any other questions? Christine, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning to everyone. And I do want to apologize, first of all, for being unavoidably late. So thank you for that. And I'm pleased to second this. My question is, within our climate action initiatives, with the enhancement to the system, will we also see a contribution to our emission saving, just in the footprint, and how that can contribute to a greener gray? Thank you.
I think Jen had her hand up. Go ahead, Jen.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councillor Robinson. We have reached out and involved Linda, the climate coordinator, manager. Okay, thank you. To be part of the discussions and the plans moving forward. And so while I can't speak to specifics, Linda's actively involved in the discussions, and that's information that we'll be able to bring back and share. And so she's doing that research, and we are taking the opportunity when these things come up to make sure that we're looping in Linda and having the opportunity to learn and hear her recommendations and what's available.
Thank you. Excellent.
Sounds to me like Great Highlands rent needs to go up. All right, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Any other business? Warden, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I had a question about the picture that was included. Is it just me, or is that wall not in good shape? It looks like the plaster is crumbling from the foundation. Where the footing meets the foundation, it looks like there's significant decay there. And a lot of the grout in the brick even seems to be missing in that area. I don't know. If it were my home, I'd be asking some questions about a condition of that area.
No, it's a good point. There's certainly some parging that is required. Jen, or Shannon, any?
Thank you.
And part of the building condition assessment, or?
Yeah. Sure, it is part of the building, and through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Warden Hicks. I know that, what do they call it with the brick pointing? Yeah, that has been, there's been a few opportunities to be doing that over the last couple of years, and so we'll make sure that this is part of that list.
Christine, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I was wondering, if there is any opportunity for a delegation at the upcoming Roma conference with respect to a discussion that we had as I was entering into the meeting, the connection with long-term care in relation to doctor recruitment, nurse practitioner recruitment, enhanced PSW awareness, if at all possible, or if there's any other topic with regard to long-term care. Roma delegations, AMO delegations, are a really great time to have the one-on-one discussion with the ministry. Thank you.
No, it's a good point. It's not really no other business, but I'd just like to take just looking at the screen right now, most of my colleagues here, this will be their last meeting with the long-term care. And it's certainly been a pleasure to work with all of you. I very much enjoyed this committee. The dedication that all of our senior staff and every staff person that we have working in long-term care has been amazing. It's been the last 3 years, very difficult, especially in long-term care, but just my sincere appreciation to each and every one of you for all the work you've done. And I'm not sure who will be on the new long-term care committee, but I will be putting my name forward because I have very much enjoyed, working with all of you. And, it's very important, the care that's provided to our seniors. And I know every council member here has certainly supported the work that all of our staff have done in long-term care. So thank you very much. Barb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I wanted to offer those comments or similar comments as well. It has been a pleasure working with all of you on this committee. I've really enjoyed it and learned a lot. The commitment and the dedication of the staff is impressive. It is really heartwarming to see the amount of caring and innovation to make things so much better and more exciting and more fulfilling for our senior residents. So I just wanted to extend my best wishes for the future. I'll certainly be following that theme, long-term care, for a little while longer, and privately this time, but just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for who you are. For the dedication and the commitment that you have provided to our seniors and to Grey County. It's really impressive, and I'm in awe. Thank you so much.
Christine, go ahead.
I do want to say a few words before for leaving. This certainly is my last meeting, and I do want to say thank you very much to all the staff, and I echo the remarks about professionalism, commitment, dedication. You're very smart people, and the fact that you have dedicated your time and energy and talent to long-term care is outstanding. If you look back on our last 4 years and the tangibles, the accomplishments are many, and it is as a group, as with this committee and staff and the overall support of Grey County Council. So extremely well done. It's been my pleasure to serve with you for 4 years, and I wish you all the best of luck in the upcoming years, at least the next 4 years. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Christine. Jen, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. And I have some notes that I wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of all of the staff in Grey County Long-Term Care. And some of it you've just reflected to us, and I want to reflect back. So Chair Mackey, Warden Hicks, past Chair Burley, all of the members of the Committee of Management, we want to thank you for your leadership and your support. We've been through a lot, and so some of these have just been highlighted, and I will take your lead, Councillor Robinson, and just highlight a couple of them. So supporting and welcoming a new director of long-term care and other senior leaders, a global pandemic, which came with a host of challenges as well as opportunities, but despite that, and because of that, you supported us to be leaders in long-term care, to be excellent healthcare partners locally, regionally, and provincially. With your governance and your leadership, we started a behavioral support transition unit in the middle of the pandemic. We embarked on a community, a redevelopment at Rockwood Terrace to create a community for residents and staff that aligns with our vision. We got a new act and all that comes with that level of change. And finally supporting all of the opportunities that came from being in a pandemic and some of the kind of outside the box ideas that we brought, and asking us good questions and sometimes the hard questions, but always supporting us to live the vision of Color It Your Way. And so I want to thank you for your governance, your leadership, and your support. We couldn't have got through the last 4 years without you. And I would like to, if you can have about 11 minutes, I would like to share the Designated Care Partner video. It absolutely highlights the pioneering work that came from Grey County Long-Term Care under your leadership that has transformed essential care partners across the province. So I would like to share that. And again, on behalf of everyone, thank you.
Jen, when you first mentioned about showing the video, I saw everyone nodding that they wanted to see it. So.
Family presence in long-term care has really gone for decades as an unacknowledged contribution to people that are living in long-term care. People move in and they become a resident, and they still depend on and look forward to and rely on the people in their lives from before they lived in long-term care. And it was really during the pandemic that there became formal acknowledgement of the contribution of family members and friends and just how important those people are to the people who live in long-term care.
In March of 2020, life did change, and the fear of COVID caused people to tighten up and cause restrictions and prevent families from coming in. And that came from a good place to protect loved ones, but it did not take long to see that we were going about this the wrong way and something had to change. So Designated Care Partners, or DCPs as we call them here at Bruyere, are also called Essential Care Partners, ECPs, and other organizations. And what they are family members, friends, anyone the resident feels comfortable to have come in and be part of their care team to provide different aspects of their care. The difference between a visitor and a DCP or Essential Care Partner role comes down to many things, one being training. So they're learning about the rules, learning how to do things safely. It gives them a sense of responsibility, they have a sense of accountability, and they're members of the team.
They are a valuable member of the team. That by becoming a DCP or a designated care partner, you end up being not just a visitor. It doesn't mean that you have to come in and dress and bathe and all those cares, but your level of comfort and where you would like to have your visit begin and end, we can do that with the DCP program.
Essential care partners are essential because they are the connection between the resident and the support team that's here. It's an advocate, it's a loved one, it's someone who knows the resident best.
It's important to make the DCPs really feel part of the team because one, it all comes down to the resident and they are the best advocate for the resident. There's also the fact that they become comfortable to know to whom they can talk to when the residents need something. That familiarity, those connections helps them to be better advocates for the resident. You always see the joy in their face for them to actually be granted that access. For example, the couples that have been together the longest, they haven't been away from their loved one for the last 40 years they've been together. Navigating all that stuff, even when it's very onerous, they have to get tested to come into the residence, but they understand that it all comes down to protecting their loved one, but also to guaranteeing that continued connection with their loved ones.
I believe firmly that the DCP program has really reduced the isolation effects that residents have experienced when you have a DCP bring their family out to a program that we're running, it totally enhances the experience of that resident because they've been able to get them out of their rooms and get them involved in programs and getting outside, and it's just excites them to come out and be involved. We like to see that. I think you also had to be very aware of the emotional side of some of our DCPs were spouses who were alone. It was extremely important for many of our spouses that this visiting was as important for them as it was for our residents as well.
Before the pandemic, there was certainly anecdotal evidence, and there was some scientific evidence that the role played by family members and close friends for residents in long-term care was important, but it had not been a major focus of research at that point. Ontario Centres for Learning, Research and Innovation in Long-Term Care introduced us to early adopters of an intervention that was intended to allow family members and essential care partners into the homes during times of outbreak. There are a number of key findings from our research. The first is the very simple but important finding that essential care partners are essential. When essential care partners are barred from the home, there are declines in well-being. When they're allowed back in, things improve. The most dramatic example of this that we found had to do with people living with dementia, people living with Alzheimer's in long-term care homes.
I don't think any of us knew the extent of the importance until the pandemic. For someone who had Alzheimer's disease or anyone with dementia, he's already isolated, isn't he, in his own little cocoon. He couldn't do puzzles or games, wouldn't be interested at all in FaceTime or things like that, until that magic moment when we could get together because of the DCP program. And that was all the difference in the world, because I could rub his shoulder and touch his arm. You could just see his whole body relax and know that I'm right there, and my voice was there. It's just the magic of connection, and it was pure joy. Anyone taking on a designated care role should certainly be prepared to make a real commitment to it. It's important to want to be in and to come regularly and to keep the connection going. It's also important to know how much you'll receive yourself from the experience, continuing your memories, and you'll be surprised how much you get back yourself. Not only with the resident that you care so much about and you're visiting, but others who are there too, if you're able to just let them know that you see them and you're interested in their welfare. It's a very important role. It has, I think, life-changing significance for long-term care.
Care falls into a couple of different categories. The basic category is what some people refer to as psychosocial care. It's not transactional care where you deliver a care bundle like a set of medication. It's relational that occurs through the unfolding of the relationship, the interaction, and that is the kind of care that people exhibit toward each other when they simply spend time together. But we also learned that a great many essential care partners go beyond this, not all do, and provide some elements of things like personal grooming, being with a person at mealtime, taking them into maybe a garden-like setting. It's all of these things that reminds them of pleasant times during their life.
The family is involved in a lot of the activities that we do, and they can help if they wish in exercising and things like that. And it's so much easier. It really is.
It lifts the morale of the residents and the staff and myself. Just being there is pretty much as important as anything. You look forward to your days with them. It's a benefit all around. The more company and the more convenient it is to come in through the DCP program, the better it'll be for whoever your loved one is that's in the home as a resident.
Once-in-a-lifetime moments won't be lost the way they have been for many people. One of the hardest things with the pandemic and restricting people was restricting people at a time as sacred as end of life, the time that they deserve to have with their loved one. Thankfully, I witnessed a resident's 100th birthday, and without the DCP program, she would not have been able to celebrate with her family members. If there was anything I wanted anyone to know about the DCP program, is that it is a win-win. The time given to the training is going to be given right back in that time spent with loved ones. For anyone who is reluctant to consider being a DCP, with the training and support from the team, they will learn very quickly that they are part of the team. And that is essentially what it's about, that they're not working alone, that they're not there to replace staff, they're working with the staff to provide the best care possible for their loved one.
This role of essential care partner needs to have some formality about it. It needs to be seen as a role within the long-term care setting, just as the personal support worker has a role or the registered nurse has a role. This is a role that goes above and beyond that of a visitor to someone in a long-term care home.
Our designated care partner program, which was born out of an answer to restrictive visiting, has really become that formal acknowledgement. And I see an opportunity for us to take that into the future so that it isn't just about how do we have people safely visiting during an outbreak, but how do we have residents, family members, and friends as part of the care team for the time that they live in long-term care. Essential caregivers or designated care partners, and there's different names, but it's all this formal acknowledgement of someone that the resident designates from outside the community as part of their care team. Care partners, residents, team members, which is our words for staff, they all play a role in developing our programs and our policies, and we're always looking at opportunities to include the DCPs in the day-to-day care and planning for the experience of people who live here. And that program and opportunity needs to be discussed from the moment someone moves in or is looking at moving in. I love how engaged family members and friends are in our care communities and how that has created truly a community in each of our long-term care homes. Family presence and friend presence in the home makes a place a community and a home, not just a long-term care facility. It's a place where people live, it's a place to find joy, it's a place that we want to give people a life worth living.
Thank you. And you could see so many scenes from Grey Gables, and it was titled The Magic of Connection, which is the words of one of our DCPs, Janet Glasspool, who's been a wonderful advocate for the program. And we did that. This was all made possible with your leadership and governance. And so thank you. It's something that we should all be really proud of.
Absolutely, Jen. That was wonderful. That kind of tugged at the heart. It was good to see former warden in there too. Yeah, that was great. Could we, Kim, show that to County Council? It would be nice for the outgoing council who were involved with all of it, but also the incoming council to see, what's taking place in our long-term care homes. Just a thought that if we could add that to the agendas would be nice, because that was very well done, and very much appreciate the development that everyone here has played, and the provincial recognition that you've received because of it. Wonderful. Thank you. Is there anything else from me? John, go ahead.
I just wanted to agree with you on that, Scott, and it's a funny thing when you're involved with an organization or with something. At times you think that what is going on is just the normal of what's going on in all across the province or in an industry. And when you see things like that, and when you're as involved as this committee is, you soon realize that what we do or what the staff has done here isn't the normal. It's a step above. And I think, yeah, I agree with you, Scott. I think it would be really good for whether it's the outgoing, incoming, or both to see this. I think would be very valuable, but this is something for the public to see as well, because like I say, you think things are just the normal way that things are, but our staff is done more than a step above what the normal is, and it's greatly appreciated, and I think some self-promotion is in order with this stuff. So just my 2 cents worth.
You're absolutely right, sir. Any other comments before I think we're pretty much at the end of things? Okay. Again, thanks everyone. We will stand adjourned at 10:40, maybe 10:41 in Owen Sound, but 10:40 on my computer. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.